This is the High School Football America podcast for September 28, 2021. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, faster speed than Huddle Sideline, and GameStrat has awesome customer service along with different plans priced right for every coach's budget. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. We are heading to the state of Mississippi. I was joking before I rolled some tape here. The head coach, Jon Reed McLendon of Greenville Christian, didn't even know who they were. They weren't on our radar. And all of a sudden, they started beating the big boys in the Mid-South Association of Independent Schools, and then took on and played very well the number 23 team, or 4 team in the High School Football America 100 in Atlanta, Collins Hill, and now he's on the show here to talk about what has been, I'm going to say, Coach, this is probably the story of the year so far. Maybe I'm overstating it a little bit, but first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Sure. Hey, man, I appreciate you so much for having me today.
It's great to have you on here, number 79 in the High School Football America 100 this week. And I guess because you were off the radar, we're going to start the podcast here by having you play a little bit of a travel agent, I guess. You're going to teach the listeners around the nation where Greenville Christian is. Tell us a little bit about the school. I know you've got a small roster and all that. So do a little job here of posing, painting the picture for the listeners about Greenville Christian and the Saints.
Sure. So we're a small 3A academy school, independent school that here in the Mississippi Delta, kind of right on the Mississippi River on the west side, Central State. We compete in the Mid-South Association of Independent Schools, like you said. Been here since 1969. I think we fielded our first football team in 71. And have had sort of throughout our history, we've had some good teams. This is, the last couple of years we've really seen something pretty incredible happen around here. We go back to last year. We had quite a number of the public schools around us shut the football programs down due to COVID. And so when our association was still playing, so we were still going to have a season. And, so what we're able to do was provide a number of kids from the area here an opportunity to play. And, so kids started sort of, we saw sort of an exodus from the public schools, kids that were wanting to play football, or parents that wanted their children to be, in school in person rather than online, things like that. And so, we kind of had an influx of kids and just athletes as well as regular students, right, as well as just academic students. And so that's sort of, I think, where this journey, kind of starts is, we've been here. This is my 8th season at Greenville Christian. And, we've worked really hard to sort of establish a program and build something special here. And, so between the kids that we already had and adding a few, really special players that came over looking for an opportunity after their season had been canceled, it's been a pretty incredible journey up to this point.
No doubt about it. I guess, with all the negatives with COVID, in some way, shape, or form, Greenville Christians had a lot of positive, I guess, when you look at it from that way. We're talking with Jon Reed McLendon, the head coach at Greenville Christian in Mississippi, nationally ranked after coming up against the big boys. And before we get into how things went, I got to say, even though you got a nice influx of players, right? When you looked at that schedule, you're coming off, you're a 3A champ last year, and you got Madison Ridgeland Academy. They were nationally ranked last year by us. Then you got Jackson Prep, which everybody knows about Jackson Prep if you're from the South, on what a quality program that is. And then you're also going to take on a pretty good public team, like I said, Collins Hill, number 24 in the High School Football America 100. So were you scratching your mind, going, did you have a brain cramp that just didn't go away? I mean, it was not a cupcake schedule. What'd you think about it going into it?
Well, I tell you what, one of the things that we experienced when we were starting to make our schedule last year was we had a lot of the teams that we'd played in the past that just weren't willing to schedule.
I get it.
So but the other thing is, right, we felt like we had a really good group returning, and we wanted to give them an opportunity to go compete, right? When you start thinking about, I mean, we have several kids that are going to have the opportunity to play ball at the collegiate level. And, one of the knocks sometimes on small schools is, well, they don't play anybody. Can these kids play, sure, they're putting up all these, great numbers against small schools. Can they compete at a higher level? And so we want to give our kids an opportunity to showcase, first and foremost, to compete and get better and be challenged, but also to showcase their talents, at a level that, we don't have to, maybe answer the same kinds of questions, right? Because we're playing against, some of the top talent in the South. And so, that was kind of the thought going in when we started to put that schedule together. But it was we didn't necessarily expect to have we got all three of the big schools in our league, with Madison Ridgeland and Jackson Prep and then Jackson Academy, right? And then along the way we were able to add the defending 6A public school state champion in Oak Grove, and and so it definitely has been way different than anything we've ever experienced in a year. But, it has given our kids some really neat opportunities to go compete against some of the top talent in the state and even in the Southeast. And, so it's been a really cool journey. And, it's been a great experience, to be able to play some of the schools that we just aren't traditionally able to play.
It's been fun to watch the growth here, and I do have to apologize. I mean, Oak Grove's in the top 100 too. I didn't want to leave out your public 6A champs there out of that mix. Right. It was a little bit tougher than that. Coach, let's see. I've been doing this for 45 years as far as the sports journalism thing, but High School Football America has been around 17 years, and we've kind of been a who's who on the podcast here of who we've had through the time. But I think you are the first head football coach / pastor ever on the show. I saw that on your Twitter account. So tell me about how does that blend all together? Because you're right now you're number one as far as I know in America on that front.
That's cool. That's a neat distinction to hold. Back several years ago, it's something that I always felt like I probably would be involved in ministry in some kind of way. It's just my dad is a pastor, granddad was a pastor, so I've grown up in sort of come from that lineage anyway, and so it's something I always thought I would do. I didn't know maybe what it would look like, but I always thought I'd be in ministry in some capacity. And so back a couple years, I guess a little over 2 years ago now, had the opportunity to take on a church here and was called as pastor to a little church here in Greenville. So it's like 5 minutes away from the school. So pretty close. It makes it pretty easy as far as having to, anytime I have to leave here and head over that way for anything, no real conflict ever. So that's nice. We're a small church, so we run just 25 or 30 on Sunday morning, so it's a small congregation, and but some really
I love it,
incredible folks that have allowed me to be able to do both. And I think that's important anytime you're gonna, as a head football coach, especially during football season, it takes up so much time that you have to, if you're going to do anything else, people have to be understanding, and they really have been. Allowed me to, to be able to do both and hopefully, do it well most of the time.
Well, I'm going to ask you the question, since you're the first and maybe the only for a long time here on the podcast. So how does one help the other and the other help the other? So how does being a preacher help you when it comes to being a high school football coach? I think you probably pretty good locker room speech, I would think, I hope, and then back the other way. How does being a good football coach help you as a pastor?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things, obviously, is that just maybe being a leader, having to handle just people and lead people. I think that those two things sort of help it in that area. Church, I think, being a pastor sometimes brings some balance, as far as maintaining just a spiritual life and and being in a good place. I think for me, spiritually and emotionally, mentally, I think being a pastor certainly allows me to do that and maintain some balance. When it comes to coaching, I think sometimes as football coaches, we get into football all the time, and you can really sort of I think so many times we do. Football coaches sometimes struggle to maintain good balance. And so I think that's something that's helped me. And then just like I said, from a standpoint of like you said, leading or being able to stand up and know what to say and how to say it, things like that. I think that being a pastor has helped in those areas for sure.
I have no doubt. If you're just tuning into the podcast, folks, we got a first going on here, and no, we haven't turned into a Sunday sermon. This is head coach Jon Reed McLendon, our first pastor/HC on the High School Football America podcast, the 3A champs on the private side of things in the state of Mississippi. They're ranked number 79 after an incredible start to a season against what arguably may be one of the toughest top 10 schedules in the nation, and they've been very, very successful. Only a loss on the road against Collins Hill out of Atlanta, a top team that has a real good shot at winning the 7A championship in the state of Georgia. And Coach, I also, before we get back to the football, you're just so interesting. I love talking to people that are a little outside the norm. You were very, very young when you took over the head coaching job, correct? How old were you?
Yes. 23. I was 23 when I took over. Yeah.
Ooh, what was that like? You're coaching guys that are 5 years younger than you, maybe.
That's right. So, neat story there. My brother, who is our defensive coordinator now, was actually he was a quarterback. It was his senior year playing at Greenville Christian. So, not only 5 years older than most of the guys that I was coaching, but then you throw in I go from just being a brother to a head coach of our quarterback there. So that was neat. Sure, super young and didn't know a whole lot, and it was a learning process. We were we were the year before that. He was a new athletic director. He was a baseball coach that they hired, and we didn't have a football coach. I was actually the only other football coach left on staff. So they hired a new athletic director and baseball coach, and had him coach the varsity team. I coached the junior high team that year, and then 2014, after his 1 year of coaching football, he decided that wasn't for him, And so he stepped away and was just going to be the athletic director and baseball coach, and it just left me. So I was the only football coach left on staff, and they said, hey, we'd had a pretty good year in junior high the year before and won our conference championship, and they said, hey, are you interested in taking over the varsity program? I said, hey, absolutely. And maybe I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but I knew I was excited and ready to get the journey started. So I took that on, and it certainly has been a lot of growing and learning and having to learn things the hard way because I didn't have a lot of experience as an assistant coach before I stepped into the role of being a head coach. So, but I think that it really it challenged me early on and allowed me to really be able to grow and learn and sort of learn by trial and error and experience. And so it's been a neat deal.
Well, I guess, as they say, pastor, head coach, God works in mysterious ways, right? He figured you were ready for it.
That's right.
I love it. Jon Reed McLendon, he is the head coach at Greenville Christian, 3A champs in Mississippi last year in the Mid-South Association of Independent Schools. People who don't know about that conference should find out about it, folks. There's some darn good football being played there, and we're going to kind of hop back into the football after a lot of fun questions there to learn a little bit more about you, Coach. But again, I'm going to have you put the ambassador hat on here for the Mid-South Association and educate the people around the nation that listen to our podcast about how good the football is on the private side of things with the academy schools there in Mississippi.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I think that over the last number of years, there's always been good football. I think over the last number of years, it has really grown by leaps and bounds here. Our association, I think that there's probably as good a football, as good a caliber of football player in our association right now as there's ever been. And you look at, you got, you got guys that have gone on and played big time Power 5 football. He's got one from Jackson Academy right now, Deion Smith is playing, starting at White, or playing some significant snaps right now at LSU as a freshman. Dylan Johnson, who played a little, here at St. Joe in Greenville, and he's now splitting reps sort of full time as a running back at Mississippi State. Trey Benson, who also played at St. Joe, is now at Oregon and is gonna after he's working back from an injury up there. But some big time football, right? We're playing against big time Division I talent, here in the association, and right now we've got, I think, 5 guys that are that all have Division I offers at this point, on our team. So there's really good football that's going on, that's being played here in our association. And like you said, you got schools like Madison Ridgeland and Jackson Prep who have a ton of history. I think Jackson Prep went on one of the more historic runs in high school football history. I had 7 state championships in a row in the largest classification. Some really there's a lot of history, but I think right now there's as good a talent in our league as there's ever been, and it seems to be growing every year.
No doubt about it. It's seriously, folks, you got to educate yourself on the conference down there. It is so good. Jon Reed McLendon on the line here, 79 in the top 100. And let's get to some of the players. As you said, you've got some kids that are going to play at the next level. What caught my eye when you come out of the box beating an MRA and then beating a Jackson Prep is you have a young man taking snaps there who put up some wow numbers. I think there was a 7-touchdown game in there somewhere at the start. I can't remember for sure, but talk a little bit about your quarterback and some of these other players that you have that are very, very good high school football student athletes.
Yeah, so like you said, it starts with DJ Smith, our quarterback. He's a senior. and has put up some pretty incredible numbers early on against, like you said, against really good competition, and that was sort of he holds some Group of 5 offers right now: Southern Miss, Arkansas State, Louisiana Monroe. We're starting to field calls, and that was one of the things that I think really helped is being able to play some good competition. Now you have some of the Power 5 schools that are starting to call and having to do their homework. Whereas maybe before they had written it off as he's playing smaller schools and lesser competition, and now they're having to really dig in and say, hey, we might need to get serious about this kid. So we're starting to maybe hear some more calls from some of the larger schools on him. He's phenomenal, man. He's this ultimate competitor and leader, and has been a great face of our program. Has really taken on that role well. Then we got another guy that he's throwing the ball to, Chris Bell. Another senior wide receiver that has really blown up. He had a really good summer, 7-on-7 circuit, and started to get some attention, and was a Southern Miss commit coming into the season, and then so within the last few weeks, really it picked up after we played Oak Grove and went to Hattiesburg and won, and he had a really nice night. He's been huge for our offense. Put up some big time numbers. I think now 11 like 700 yards and 11 touchdowns through 6 games. So he's been really impressive. He's gotten some big time offers over the last couple of weeks. Maryland was the first, and then Louisville came shortly after, and then of course the in-state schools are starting to heat up on him a little bit, and Florida State has shown some interest. So we've gotten some big time interest in him. We have a cornerback on the other side of the ball, Jatarius Elam, who's a Mississippi State commit at defensive back. We have a linebacker, J.D. Stewart, who's going to be a Power 5 guy as well. Right now, he's a Southern Miss commit, but he's getting some interest from some of the Power 5 schools as well right now, and we feel like those offers are coming, hopefully soon. So, some really special players. We've got a bunch of other guys who are whether they're going to play college football, whether it be the junior college level first or maybe some Delta State. We've got Division II right down the road that's shown some interest in quite a few of them. Really good football program up there. So we've got quite a collection of talent, some big time football players here in our program right now.
Yeah, and when I was talking earlier, I mean, it's kind of, it is maybe the story of high school football, especially for a small school. But when you have players like DJ and some of the other kids you mentioned there, it's going to help those other kids, right? Because now all of a sudden people are finding out about Greenville Christian, so you're going to really, help some kids play at those, those D2, D3 JUCO kids like you were talking about, NAIA type of thing. I got to imagine that's happening. Is that happening for you?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. It is really, it's provided an opportunity for some of the kids that that maybe weren't getting as much attention. Now they're on the radar, and so we've got
that's
some guys
awesome.
that are really they're starting to get the attention that we feel like they deserve, right? Which is you get looked over sometimes at a smaller school, but it's been really big for a lot of those type of kids.
So out of all the big wins, okay, you got the MRA early, you've got the Jackson Prep, you've got that, and then you everybody's like, well, what are they going to do when they come to Georgia? You did a good job, right? You represented real well, and then comes the bash with the 6A Publics against the 3A state champs on the private side of things, and I think that's the one that maybe finally caught some people around the nation who knew who you were. 48-41. fun. When did this team start believing in itself, I guess, is the first question I'm going to ask, because there's a lot of big wins in there. Was a turning point as the head coach? Is there a turning point where you say, this is when I knew the kids were locked in and knew they could do something more than just be a 3A, Mississippi private championship team?
Right. Yes, sir. Well, one of the things, it's a confident group to begin with. I mean, they came into the season, knowing, what was on the schedule. And, we started off with MRA, who is, has been the sort of the premier programs, certainly in our association. And then, look, they've gone on the road. They went on the road and beat a good Class 4A Corinth team last year pretty handily. They've played some public schools as well and have fared well. They're one of the, not just the premier private schools in the state, but just one of the premier football programs in the state.
I agree.
And so, with that one starting off, that we knew that was gonna really tell us a lot about ourselves. And so when you go in there and play as well as we did and get that win, I think that just that did a lot for our belief. I think as far as we can go into those big the 6A private schools in our league and like we can go win those games, and I think that did a lot for to help us know where we stood. But like you say, going to Collins Hill or going to Atlanta and playing Collins Hill in the Freedom Bowl, I think that was an eye opener in the way that we competed. We didn't feel like we really executed all that well, and a lot of that has to do with the kind of players Collins Hill has. They're really good, so we didn't feel like we played our best, and so credit, but like credit to them for keeping us from playing our best, right? But I think the way we competed and we leave that game feeling like, hey, it really, if we had executed a little better, on a few plays, that maybe is a different ball game. At the very least, it's closer. We felt like we handled ourselves well, and I think that did a lot for the belief, that hey, maybe it's not just a group that can compete in the private school league. This is a group that can compete at the highest levels of high school football, and so that was at that point. We start looking for another opportunity to go play one of those games, right? Against maybe another big time public school program, and we wanted an opportunity to kind of get another shot at that, and see if we can go win one of those. So we were able to schedule that one with Oak Grove, and and at that point we really we really felt like we had a group that could go in and compete in that environment, and and against a team of that caliber. We just at that point, I think Collins Hill had done enough that we believed we could go compete in a game like that and against one of the top programs in the nation, really. So so that was I think that just has kind of built along the way. With big wins comes a little more confidence and belief.
Yep.
That you can compete at even a higher level than maybe you realized you could coming in. So
no doubt about that. Coach Jon Reed McLendon on the line, Greenville Christian 79 and the High School Football America 100 powered by NFL Play Football. A couple more, I'll let you go, Coach. We appreciate your time. Let's go to the question of, you've played all of these big programs, right? You've been very successful. At the beginning, they were called upsets. Now it's just Greenville Christian's a pretty darn good program. And down the stretch here, with all due respect to the 3A classification, in the state of Mississippi, where you guys are going to compete for a state championship, maybe a little less on the competition side of things. So my question to you is this: as the head coach, how do you keep the kids jacked up? Obviously, a state championship is something you want, but maybe, again, with all due respect, you're playing a different level of. So kids may get a little overconfident, right? They're teenagers.
Right. That you're absolutely right. So one of the things that we always preach is, what you put on film, you can't take off. Right. College coaches are they're going to see. They're going to see these films, and if you don't go out and do your job every single snap, you're going to put something on film that maybe you will regret. That maybe it doesn't look so good on film, and you may miss opportunities. And so we try to attack it from that standpoint of let's be the best we can be every day at practice. Let's be the best we can be, every snap that we take on Friday night, just because. Right, the target is always the same. We want to be the best we can be. Mm-hmm. Right, we don't just have to be better than the other team on Friday night. We want to play the best football we can play, and I think that you have to approach it from that standpoint. That point of view. Let's be the best we can be. Don't worry about who we're playing. Let's compete against ourselves each day. And I know that's sort of cliche and coach speak, but I think it's true in this situation. Right, we have to. We have to be able to focus on maybe not so much who we're playing and focus on how we're playing. I think that's what you have to do.
Heck, if we didn't have Coach speak, I wouldn't have a podcast. Let's look at it from that standpoint. Greenville Christian, we're talking Saints football here in the national rankings, and let's just wrap up. You mentioned, and again, just trying to be a little funny here, at 23, you were sort of the last man standing there, and next thing you know, you're the head coach at Greenville Christian. Certainly, you Google your name, you Google Greenville, your name pops up there, but best I can tell you, it's not just you. You may have some other people on the staff there. I was just curious if you want to talk a little bit about your coaching staff, because obviously you're not one man alone there doing it. So tell me how you put together the staff and what it's like, and how much fun are they having, and how much fun are you having with them during this run?
Absolutely. And so this is, I think, the largest part of our success that I always tell people, it is that, the biggest key is the people that we have around us, people I have around me. We've got so neat story. We all of us, except for one, we've got one, our defensive backs coach who didn't graduate from here. He was at another school up the road. But the rest of us, the other four, all graduated from Greenville Christian. So we played here, and graduated from here, and so we're at home, and I think that adds another neat aspect to it. We've been able to do something, and be able to give back to a community and a school that we really cherish and love, and this is home for us. So Justin Levy, who's our strength and conditioning coach, and he also is our wide receivers guy. He graduated from here, played ball here. And went and played some community college ball down the road at Mississippi Delta Community College, and then went on to play receiver at Delta State, and had a really good career, and had some opportunities to go to some regional combines and fill out the NFL and go through that process, and even in recent years has had some workouts with some different NFL teams. So he was a big time football player himself, and it's been super valuable to have his experience and expertise. He's done a phenomenal job, just in the weight room, having kids, helping kids transform their bodies and get the most out of themselves, and get the most out of their potential. Like I told you earlier, my brother is our defensive coordinator, Jon McLendon. He's our defensive coordinator. Played a little ball at Delta State himself, and graduated from there, and is now back here. And it's been pretty neat. That's been really cool to get to be on staff with him, and and have him here, be a part. And then our athletic director is also an assistant football coach, Logan Collins. He's another Greenville Christian graduate, and has been he actually was my baseball coach my senior year in high school, and so he's So a lot of really, more than friends, we're family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've grown up together and have sort of, just formed a really, really special bond. And so it's, that kind of having those kind of people on staff, not only know they're good folks, but you have a special relationship and their family. And and then our defensive backs coach is Martavis Moore. He played at Mississippi Delta and then went on to play at Central Arkansas, defensive back, and he's a policeman here in Greenville. So he's the city police officer, and he worked his schedule out so that he could be off on Friday nights and be with us. And so he volunteers his time, and is here every day at practice and with us on Friday nights. And so it's been really cool to have him as well. He's been really great to have around. So it's a special staff, man, and absolutely, they're the largest part of our success. They just have invested time, and blood, sweat, and tears, literally, into the football program to make sure that we can get the most out of the kids and to make sure that the kids know that they're loved and that they are cared for, and that it's been a really neat thing to see the way that as a staff we've been able to really invest in a group of kids, and to see the positive returns, that we've gotten. So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to everyone up and down the program there. I think somewhere I read you've been kind of classified as the Hoosiers type story of football. I'm not sure if that's accurate, if you like that or not, but what I do know is the numbers are small. So before we let you go here, so what's the roster size? And it didn't sound like you didn't have like a 20-man staff there. So are we over 40 total with coaches and players?
Okay, so yeah, we're barely over 40. We dress 36, and then there are 5 of us on staff that coach, and so that's it, right? It's small, and
who's driving the bus? Who's driving the bus?
Well, I'll tell you what, we actually we outgrew our with the trainers that we take on Friday night. We sort of outgrew our bus, and so we've been chartering. We've been chartering on Friday night, but our athletic director is also our bus driver on most occasions. So he, I love it. If we're not chartering, he's the bus driver. So,
I love it. I've enjoyed this time tremendously. Like I said, you always remember your first head coach pastor, so I'll never forget you, right. Coach. But we wish you nothing. Yeah, we wish you nothing but success the rest of the way. It's good. I always love seeing different names in the national rankings. Right, everybody gets used to the Mater Deis, the St. John, but they're all. When you see a little Greenville Christian comes in, it puts a little smile on my face. I know the algorithm's working properly. So best of luck, and more importantly, thanks for all you do for student athletes out there. That's very, very important. And again, congratulations and thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. I enjoyed it as well and appreciate you having me.
The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, faster speed than Huddle's sideline, and GameStrat has awesome customer service, and they also have different plans priced right for every coach's budget. Mention High School Football America when you talk with them, and they will give you a special friends and family discount. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com.